Welcome to Fringe Pop 321, the show that believes the world is stranger than we think, but thinking should not be strange. There's something fascinating about ancient inscriptions. Maybe it's the weird script or the intrigue about the source of messages left behind from the distant past. And I understand that fascination. A required course in my PhD program was Ancient Semitic Inscriptions. I also took courses in Egyptian hieroglyphics, many of which are found on tomb walls and obelisks and monuments. There's something about being able to decipher inscriptions in strange, weird scripts. It's fun and it's fascinating. My doctoral training actually comes in handy for our topic today. Take a look at this inscription. It's actually a copy of the Ten Commandments from the Bible. You might be thinking, well, the Ten Commandments are Jewish, but that inscription doesn't look like Hebrew. Some researchers of the inscription believe that it actually is Hebrew, specifically Paleo-Hebrew, an ancient script that derived from Phoenician that we find evidenced in the biblical world, but before the time of the Bible. What's really unusual about this inscription, though, is where it's found. You wouldn't find it in Israel. This inscription was found in Los Lunas, New Mexico. That raises all sorts of questions. Is this really an ancient Hebrew inscription? Did ancient Hebrews come to North America? And how would they have done that? What else could it be? Well, that's what we're here for. Let's find out. Los Lunas is a village in New Mexico, roughly 30 miles from Albuquerque. The Los Lunas inscription is located on what locals refer to as the Hidden Mountain. The inscription is a partial copy of the ancient biblical Ten Commandments, otherwise known as the Decalogue. Hence, the Los Lunas inscription is also referred to as the Los Lunas Decalogue. The script style is very similar to epigraphic or Paleo-Hebrew, a Hebrew script again from inscriptions in Israel that date to about 1000 BC. Now, this was certainly the opinion of the University of New Mexico archaeologist, the late Frank Hibben. Hibben first saw the text in 1933, and in his recollection of it, he was taken to the site by someone who had seen it as a boy back in the late 1800s. The famous Semitist, the late Cyrus Gordon, considered the inscription to possibly be genuine and perhaps a Samaritan work of the Byzantine period due to the shape of some of its letters. The inscription is considered proof by some people that ancient Israelites crossed the Atlantic in antiquity and came to North America, perhaps members of the lost tribes of Israel, those Israelites taken into exile in 722 BC by the conquering Assyrians. There are a number of problems with the thesis that the Los Lunas inscription is a genuine text from the hand of an ancient Israelite, or an ancient Samaritan for that matter. Had Cyrus Gordon examined the text more closely, he would have realized that the text follows the traditional Hebrew text of the Ten Commandments, the Masoretic text, and not the Samaritan version of the commandments. Now, the Samaritans were half-breed Israelites. When the Assyrians conquered Israel in 722 BC, they deported the population of 10 of the 12 tribes of Israel to various parts of their empire, and then they brought in other conquered peoples to live in Israel. They mixed the populations. The remaining Israelites and these other ethnic peoples intermarried, and their children became known as Samaritans. Now, the Samaritans had their own version of the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, which were the first 5 books of what we call the Old Testament. The Hebrew Bible and the Los Lunas inscription reads, "Remember the Sabbath day," whereas the Samaritan Hebrew Bible has "Preserve the Sabbath day." And that's really a telltale difference, showing that the Los Lunas inscription is clearly not Samaritan. Now, Gordon should also have noticed that while some of the characters look similar to Samaritan letters, to their script, the Los Lunas text employs letters from several alphabets. There are Greek, Latin, and Old or Paleo-Hebrew letters, Again, the same script as Phoenician and Moabite and a few other Semitic languages. So to this point, we can say that the Los Lunas inscription is not from the hand of an ancient Samaritan. It also isn't a Hebrew inscription because its letters are drawn from so many other ancient scripts and ancient alphabets. Another barrier to the Los Lunas inscription being an ancient Hebrew inscription is that even the letters in Hebrew script, the ones that are truly Old Hebrew, have problems. Some of the letters that look like Paleo-Hebrew are not actually precise matches to that ancient script. Here are some examples. You can see three examples here of, on the left-hand side, the Paleo-Hebrew letter style, and then on the right, the Los Lunas. We have the letters for D, H, and S, respectively. You can see that there are some very close matches, but not quite accurate, and then there are some that just are not the same at all. The point is that if the Los Lunas inscription had been made by an Israelite scribe who found his way somehow to North America, the inscription should not have these errors and these letter changes, the changes in style. It also, incredibly, uses a modern caret sign, that's C-A-R-E-T, sort of like that rooftop sign. That was something unknown to Hebrew manuscripts until the 16th century AD, but you actually find it in the Los Lunas inscription. Even more, there are also grammatical mistakes in the inscription. And you can see the web page and the resources and the studies on the inscription for that information. But the biggest content problem is what the inscription says, or in this case, doesn't say. The inscription is ostensibly, like we said earlier, a copy of the words of Exodus 20, 1 through 17, the Ten Commandments. But the final commandment has been shortened in the Los Lunas inscription, and parts of the second and fourth commandments in verses 4 through 6 in Exodus 20 and verses 9 through 11 in Exodus 20 have been entirely eliminated in the Los Lunas inscription. There's no way a real Israelite scribe would make those kind of mistakes or intentionally alter a sacred text, especially something as sacred as the Ten Commandments. Lastly, the Los Lunas inscription lacks the things that all such inscriptions use to promote the idea that the Israelites came to North America lack. And that is, there's no evidence of Israelite settlement in the area where it was found, and there's no inscriptional or archaeological record anywhere in North America for an Israelite transatlantic journey. So in other words, there's no provenance that explains the inscription. If the Israelites had settled in North America, in New Mexico at some point, there would be evidence of their habitation, but there simply isn't any. Now, all of these problems that we've sketched out here have convinced most scholars that the inscription is from the hand of a modern person. It's probably too harsh to call it a hoax because that sort of assumes that the creator of the inscription was intentionally trying to make people think that the Israelites had migrated to North America or something like that. There seems to be a much better explanation, and for the details of this explanation, I'm going to refer viewers to our website for this episode and the work by Trey Thames, that's T-H-A-M-E-S, his last name. But I will give you the gist of his work here. I think it is a better explanation than just saying it's an outright hoax. Now, the presence of Iberian letters in the inscription, remember Iberia is ancient Spain, and its content, the Ten Commandments, suggest that the Los Lunas inscription was created by, no surprise, an Iberian Jew. Historically, we know that hundreds of thousands of Iberian Jews came to North America in the 16th century and the following centuries to escape persecution by the Catholic Church. One of those communities, believe it or not, is known to have settled in New Mexico. Now, that theory that you had an Iberian Jewish community come over in the 16th, 17th, or 18th century and actually settle in New Mexico, That accounts for all of the data and offers a demonstrable context for the data. In short, it makes good sense and is to date the most cogent explanation for the Los Lunas inscription and all its unusual features. Thanks again for watching Fringe Pop 321. Please visit our website, fringepop321.com, for information on this episode and all of the episodes that we do. And if you're interested in supporting what we do here at Fringe Pop 321, please go to fp321.com/S, as in the letter S, and donate to us. And come back and watch again, because what you know may not be so.